Okay, well, you're not gonna go. Please don't sit on me. You're still wet from your bath. And do not knock over my tripod. You're so cute. You can sit up here if you want. But you're not sitting on me. You're not sitting on me. You are still wet. Nope, 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 nope. I know. It's okay. Don't be sad. Hey guys, we are back. And I am joined here with my trusty and freshly bathed pug Pudge. And he wants to go on my lap, but he is still very wet and he's shedding like crazy. Pudgy, you gotta stay right there, buddy. Okay. Ow, something's poking my butt. So hi, we're back, and it's funny how I'm always like, ooh, I'm gonna do like a really suspenseful intro, like they don't know what they're watching, even though it's in the title. So obviously I am showing you guys all of my variegated plants in my collection today, which is a video that absolutely no one requested. Not even one. I have never, to my knowledge, have ever been requested to show all my variegated plants. So naturally I did it. Honestly, this was a video suggestion from Alice because I've been doing a lot of repots lately and I'm filming a week of, so doing like labor intensive stuff is just not really sounding that appealing lately. So I really just wanted to do a video where we can just sit down and hang out and chat, and I'm kind of hoping this is not a very long video, but you know how things go on this channel. It's probably gonna be like 9 hours long. So let's just get started. But before I pull the first plant out, today's video is sponsored by Skillshare. Skillshare is like the perfect online learning community where you can sort of hone in on skills that you already have, or if there's just like a hobby or a side thing that you've been interested in where you want to just learn more from other creators, this is the place for you. I mean, I've been talking about Skillshare for months now. I've done everything from American Sign Language classes to learning Final Cut Pro so that I could start this YouTube channel, photography for my plants, and it's just been sort of an array of things that I've been learning. And right now I am still sort of in this Final Cut Pro thing. It is a very, very robust, complex tool to edit videos, and I feel like I only really have like scraped the surface of the things that I can do. The course that I took is the Final Cut Pro, or the complete Final Cut Pro X course for beginners from Joe Paris, and I really just learned sort of the basics on there, enough to get this YouTube channel started. But for things like, I mean, you guys know I don't do anything really fancy on this channel. It's kind of just, I turn on the camera and we just, you know, sit here for hours. But for things like spooky season that is coming up, I kind of want to be equipped with more, you know, more in my brain so that I can make the videos more interesting, more spooky, more engaging. And I really have fun video editing, and I think with October I can be a little bit more extra. And so right now I am taking more classes pertaining to Final Cut Pro so that this spooky season can be a little bit more spooky. The classes that I wanted to bring up to you guys specifically though, I am taking these myself. How to Make a Miniature Monstera Plant by Danny Vinokurov. And I don't know if you guys have seen those little like fake plants made of paper on Instagram. Pudge is snoring. But you know, I've seen begonias, I've seen caladiums, I've seen the monstera, I've seen rhaphidophores, and they are so stinking cute. And so I'm thinking that I want to make a little mini monstera for either my shelf or maybe my office, or I am thinking I might gift them away for Christmas this year because expenses were crazy this year and I might need to do a little DIY for Christmas. So I'm thinking maybe like plant cuttings of some, I guess, more rare plants, and then these little miniature monsteras that people can just display in their house. I don't know, it's just been really fun to kind of take these courses at my own pace, only take courses that I am interested in, and it's been, I don't know, it's been a really good break in my schedule, a really good break in sort of like my everyday routine. Honestly, Skillshare has just been such a great resource to have, honestly, at your fingertips. So if you are interested in taking any courses, the first 1,000 people to use the link in my description will get a 1-month free trial. You guys didn't even tell me that there was like a light on my face. How long has this just been floating on there? It's the disco ball. Woo-hoo. Okay, so anyway, thank you Skillshare for sponsoring today's video. Let's jump right into it. So just an FYI, I am not pulling these in any specific order. I've literally just piled them all onto my table and I'm just grabbing them as I see them. The first one is this Philodendron Ring of Fire. I can't remember if I even ever showed this on my channel, but I picked this up locally from a greenhouse, which I will not mention because I don't particularly agree with their business practices and I just don't want to give them any kind of advertisement. So I'm not gonna say where I got it from. Oh, come on. See, this is the karma I get for talking smack. This one was a more recent acquisition. It did have thripsises when I acquired it, but I think it's all gone now. But you never really know with thripsises. They sort of just sneak up on you when you least expect it. It did have both adults and larvae. Is that an adult thrip? Please don't move. Oh no, it's dirt. Okay, it's dirt. It's dirt. It's dirt. So anyway, this one has been isolated since I got it because I don't trust any plant that comes from that store. And I'm pretty sure a majority of my pests that entered my house this year probably came from this nursery. I have this plant because I really love the caramel marble, but I know that I've said this about a lot of plants that I own now, like the Ace of Spades, but Pudge is living his best life. But I really do not think I'm ever gonna own a caramel marble. Even for a reverted caramel marble, because I think they're really pretty, they're still like in the hundreds. And I'm like, okay, well, that's not gonna happen for me. But this is sort of the next best thing, I guess. The variegation is not as pretty as the caramel marble, in my opinion, but it is a close second. And I think that I will learn to appreciate this plant a bit more once it gets bigger. Pudge, babe, I'm so sorry, I can't focus. He's so stinking cute. Yeah, I just wanted to like quickly feature it. It's grown one new leaf in my care, which was, I think, this one. But the emergent leaves are really pretty. They come out like this sort of pinkish reddish color. And oh, you can kind of see it on this new leaf here. Not as bright as when it's more mature, but it's still pretty cute. I do have is it called a jungle boogie or philodendron narrow? There are a few names for that plant, but I really love that one. I owned one a long time ago. It got overtaken by those EFN spots, so I chucked it, and I've honestly missed it since then. I really love the growth pattern. I love the way the leaves look. So Jing gave me a prop from her plant, and so I do own one again. And so when I saw that they were releasing these ones at the greenhouses, I was like, for this price, it would be really stupid to not get one. I think it was like 20 bucks. Or maybe it was even like cheaper, like $10 or something. But it was something that was like, okay, well, I'm already here, I might as well grab it. But nothing super impressive at this point. It is what it is. But yeah, just thought I'd feature it anyway. I think that I jinxed myself when I made a dedicated video about how I wanted to size up my mandula, because as soon as that video went up, it just completely went to crap. And I do think it's getting way too much light right now. But to be honest, I haven't really been giving this thing any attention ever since it threw a fit after I gave it what I thought was the world. I did try and do a pond transfer. It did not like that, but that was the time where I was, I think, putting way too much Osmocote in my pond. I have since then stopped doing that because during that time in that batch of pond, pretty much everything I transplanted into that batch just went to crap. I was looking up Osmocote like over fertilization or Osmocote burn stuff on Reddit, on Facebook forums, and it really all looked the same across the board. So I did painstakingly sift out the Osmocote for my big batch, and yeah, I'm really only using Osmocote now, or at least the extra Osmocote in my soil, but it's a no-no for me in pond now. The Lechuza Pond brand, they do add slow release fertilizer, but nearly not as much as I was adding to my like DIY mix sort of. So I think that's what it was. I think this Mandula just got blasted by Osmocote when it transferred to pond, and just and on top of that, it was being transitioned. So I am not giving up on this thing yet, but my mom will be giving me cuttings of her Mandula when I go back home for Christmas. So before I put this on a pole, like proper pole, and get it repotted, I'm going to wait till I get my mom's cuttings, because if you guys watch my video where my mom grows plants better than I do, I featured her Mandula, and she has like, my voice is cutting out. It has, I just called my mom an it. She has, I think, 4 stems on one pole, and it just looks so bushy and full. It's just like this magical thing. So I want to be just like mom, and also do multiple stems on one pole. So this one has kind of just been, I don't know, kicking it since then. I'm not really doing much to it. So anywho, quick feature on the Mandula, go ahead and roast me. It happens on a daily basis and I'm used to it. Next one up was supposed to just be an experiment, honestly. This is the MONSTERA ADANSONI AUREA VARIEGATA that I got from Jing. She gave this to me and Alice because she was just frustrated with the growth of it. It kept doing this thing where it would sort of melt off. What I noticed is that this happens when it is when the white part of it is touching anything, whether it's another leaf, whether it's the wall of your greenhouse, whatever it is, like it always starts to brown. So what I do for these ones are make sure that I put it right in front of my fan in my tent, and it's constantly like this, just shaking around. Lots of airflow, lots of light, but you know, when something like this happens, it's like they're touching each other. So yeah, I've just noticed across the board, because there used to be another growth point that completely died, and all the leaves were stacked on top of one another and they just all melted. So that is my theory. It is a very uneducated, not studied theory, but in my experience, that has been the cause of the browning on these leaves, is when the variegated part is touching anything, and especially is not being exposed to light, and if there is not enough airflow. But listen, this was supposed to be, like I said, just an experiment. I just wanted to see if I could grow it. I have said multiple times that I do not like this plant because I associate it with sort of the elitism of the plant community, especially back in like 2020 when these were still like, I don't know, like really, really expensive. I mean, it's been a while since he's honked in any of my videos, so I guess we're all overdue. Yeah, now part of me kind of is growing to like it. I'm not gonna say I love it. I don't love it, but I am tolerating it. I do like it, and it's growing really well for me. I did chop the top off. I chopped 4 leaves off the top because it completely outgrew this pole, and I was hoping that chopping the top would maybe activate one of these nodes down here to make it a little bit more bushy. I am going to give that part to Alice, but I'm waiting to see if the variegation comes back, because right now it's all this sort of light green color. There's like no variegation to it. So if not, I'm just gonna wait till this grows out a little bit more, and then I'll just chop down here for her. But otherwise, I mean, it's growing well, which sucks. It sucks because I didn't want to like this plant. I wanted to grow this plant and have it like sort of throw a fit on me and be like, yeah, I hate this plant. I told you I hate this plant. And then I got it, and then I was like kind of okay at growing it, and I was like, dang it, dang it, dang it, dang you. But I mean, it is pretty. Like, look at it, it is pretty. But I'm not gonna sit here and say that like, oh my gosh, I love it as much as like the Florida Beauty or like the FRYDEK or something. Not even freaking close. I would never spend even $1 on this plant, I'll tell you that right now. I know lots of people love their variegated ADANSONIs, and that is all you. I'm not saying you are part of like the elite or you have like that elite status. I'm just saying in the community at that time, there was a lot of these plants going around, and there was just this whole elite energy around it. I'm pretty sure some of us can agree. So that's just where I got the bad taste in my mouth about this plant. So yeah, anyway, I am talking about this plant way too much, but just to kind of give you guys a peek at what's going on, it is still on the original pole that I got it from Jing. I think this is also the same vessel that she gave it to me in. Yeah, it probably needs to be repotted, but I did inoculate this recently with TPS billions, and there are so many new roots coming out, you guys. I think I'll be able to show you some other products of the TPS billions in this video. I was planning to do a dedicated video on it, but it has just been incredible over the last month. Oh my gosh. So anywho, this is the MONSTERA ADANSONI VARIEGATA. Out of 10 on a like it, hate it to love it scale, I will give this a 5, solid 5. Moving right along, I forgot I actually wanted to do this one first because I wanted to get it back into its isolation chamber because of thripses. This is one of the ones that got hit pretty bad when I had like my full outbreak. I always find that they gravitate towards the MONSTERAs first, but yeah, this one got hit really, really bad. But this is the remaining ALBO that I have from my friend Pearl's plant that I propagated from a wet stick. And it's like all the way back in my exo, and I didn't even notice that it had thrips, which is why it got so bad. But yeah, if you are noticing any sort of like coppery color like this, that is 100% thrips. It is pretty identifiable. It really can't be confused with burn from the sun or fertilizer burn. I've seen so many things online talking about how like thrips damage can resemble so many other things, but to me it's just completely undeniable. It's like really unlike any other sort of damage you see on plants. Of course it presents a little bit differently in different kinds of plants, but it will typically look like this. But anyway, that's not what this video is about. Here is the only variegated MONSTERA in my collection, and it's not even really technically mine. Pearl has offered to have me keep it, but I don't think that I love the variegated MONSTERA like many others do. I much prefer just the green MONSTERA. Not that it's not beautiful, and not that it's not exciting to get a new leaf every time to kind of just see what it looks like, but I don't know. I don't really know. I mean, in general, I'm not like a massive fan of variegated plants. Like, I do have a handful of them, well, more than a handful of them in my collection, but it's not like I'm like seeking out variegated plants all the time. And I don't know, I just really like the green plants. And I think this is one of those plants that it took me a while to realize that I can just appreciate it in other people's collection, but I don't necessarily have to have one for myself. I feel that way now about the Thai constellation, but I think I actually prefer the Thai constellation over an ALBO just for the way it looks, but I prefer the ALBO over the Thai in terms of care, propagation, and just, I guess, the ease of taking care of it. But yeah, it's just over the last few years, you know, I think we all sort of go through these cycles of thinking you really want a plant, but then you get it and it's a little bit underwhelming to you, or it's not what you thought it was going to be. And this is just one of them. I have learned to be able to appreciate plants in other people's collection, being able to just look at pretty photos and just kind of get that serotonin blast in my brain. But having it for me feels more like a chore. I don't know why. I get more stressed out about having plants like this, whether it be because they are prone to thrips or pests, or I don't know, having them revert, or just, I don't know. It's not for me. So once I get the thrips situation eradicated, I will make sure to chop off any leaves that have any thrips damage on it before I give it back to Pearl. But it's gonna take a while because these are generally slower growing than like a regular Monstera. So I think I'll wait for maybe 2 or 3 leaves, new leaves to pop out, and if it's thrips free, then I will chop these off if they don't fall off themselves and then give it back to her because I don't need it in my collection anymore. It's been nice to like learn how to really propagate and care for those ALBO chunks because they can be tricky, but I feel like I got the hang of it, got it out of my system, and now it's on to the next thing. Next plant on the list is this Philodendron White Princess, and I don't understand this plant. I really don't. It gets like these like weird spots. I wouldn't even really say that this plant gets EFN. Honestly, I don't even think I've ever seen EFN. I don't think I've ever seen EFN on it at any time, but it gets like these sort of coppery, rusty spots on it, sort of typical to what you would get with EFN. I think that me and Ellis talked about this in the Who Grows It Better video collab that we did. I just feel like there's like a type of like fungus, maybe like a rust fungus or something, that is attracted to the EFN on the leaves. It kind of looks like that. Like on this one specifically, it's like you can see those like sort of orangey spots on it, and then it's got like this weird discoloration. And at first I thought like maybe it was like the airflow thing, maybe it was the light thing, but I have tried so many different kinds of conditions with this plant and it's still the same thing. Also with the leaves turning brown, I'm really not sure. I'm not sure what that's about, but I am not the best at growing this plant. I'm not the best at growing this plant. I would never give any advice on how to grow this plant. I'm still trying to figure it out. But I do know that when I talked about this with my friends in my group chat, they were saying that like their pink princesses do stuff like this too, or it like kind of turns, it almost looks burnt, like it got like burnt by the grow lights, but it's not burned. Yeah, same thing. I just feel like it's just something funky is going on with this plant. But this was a prop from a single leaf cutting that I got from my friend Carmen, and it has been sizing up somewhat slowly, but the variegation has been pretty steady, to be honest. She gave me a really, really nicely variegated propagation from her plant. I think it was like a half moon. And yeah, I find the White Princess variegation to just be so like superior to the other kinds of like the White Knight, White Wizard, whatever other ones are out there. But in terms of like the royals or whatever, I think that the White Princess is my favorite, and especially because it has like that tint of pink in the petioles and how you can sometimes get like a pink leaf on your plant. I'll insert a photo of my mom's pink. Why do I always want to call it a pink White Princess? I'll show you guys a picture of my mom's White Princess that she just is so pretty, and she's been so patient with her plant, and she was so ecstatic when she saw that new leaf had come out. But yeah, just I guess if you want advice on the White Princess, go ask my mom, because I'm not the one. The next one I'm going to just feature very quickly because I just showed this in my September favorites video, and I did get a lot of comments about my Florida Beauty after I posted that video, and like DMs asking about like plant care advice and stuff. But like I was telling you guys in that video, I really feel like I can't take credit for this plant. I feel like it just has great genes. I did not tell it to grow compact. It just decided to do it on its own. It's a very, very fast grower. It has like the world's most pitiful pole you've ever seen, but she's growing and she doesn't mind it. But yeah, it's just been like such a joy to have this plant, and I mean, I showed you guys in that video, but just has been growing in no drainage. And if you guys can remember, I redirected one of those aerial roots down into the vessel when I was giving this one some love, and you can see it down here just sort of doing its thing, and it's variegated too. It's so cute. I'm just really impressed at some of the new root growth on this thing, considering that it's getting slightly root bound. But I did inoculate this one with TPS Billions Mycorrhizal inoculant, and I just can't say enough good things about it. I know it's only been a month, but I have been using Mycorrhizal inoculant for over a year now. I have tried 2 different kinds and I have not seen results like this, and I think I'll do a dedicated video on it when I have a little bit more examples to show you guys. So anyway, this is just one of them that I did inoculate with TPS, and this thing is just taken off. And that new leaf that I was showing you guys, she's finally coming out. I can't get enough of this plant. I love it so much. It's such a great plant. It's so much easier than I thought it would be. I honestly gave myself like a couple months when I first got my 1-leaf cutting for me to keep it alive or keep it happy or keep it unreverted. But here we are. It's been definitely well over a year now, I think. But she's happy as a clam, and I think, like I said in that video, I'm gonna wait until the spring to repot her, just because there's a lot of good stuff happening down here and I just don't want to interrupt her. She's kind of in her element, she's in her zone, she's working on things, and I just don't think it's my place right now to just uproot her and try and help when I think I'll just do more damage. So anywho, I blasted through this one because I have already shown it and talked in depth about it. But of course, I could not do a variegated plant video without showing my big girl here. She's such a show off. I can't even take credit for it. Oh gosh. Oh no. So the next one is not a stranger to this channel. This is my EPIPREMNUM PINNATUM ALBO VARIEGATA. I have been very vocal about the fact that I have oddly struggled with this plant. I have had a hard time sizing it up, getting any kind of fenestrations or pinnations or anything on it. It just kind of looks like this. But it's a great specimen. It has the like half moon on one side and like full moon on the other side, or like a marbled on one side and then half moon on the other. Like, it's just very, I don't get very many of just these like sort of mixed marble ones. It's always like something like a half moon, pretty much half moon, or full moon. Another almost half, or yeah, that is a half moon. Yeah, another half moon. But I have had it on this lazy pole for a while with no moss, because I have not been wanting to buy moss or prepare moss. And also this plant has just been pissing me off, so I'm like, you know what, why am I gonna spend my time trying to take care of you if you just don't even like anything? You don't like me, you don't like my house. Ugh, look at these roots. They're nasty. They're so gross. They wouldn't have dried up if I had moss in it, but it's growing more roots like crazy. It's like it doesn't care. I feel like I'm talking a mile a minute. But anyway, I'm finally seeing some freaking results of just endless days of letting it take real estate in my greenhouse, because we finally have a teeny tiny little hole and we've got tiny little fenestrations up here. One thing that I really love about the EPIPREMNUM PINNATUM is that the fenestrations are just like little tiny pinholes along that midrib, and they're just adorable. And once they get a lot larger and they fenestrate, they're actually so beautiful. I would much prefer to have one of these ones than like an ALBO MONSTERA. I wish I ran downstairs to grab Nick's plant, but of course he has his growing outside of a greenhouse, and I don't even think the pole, I think it's outgrown its pole, but his leaves are like this big now and they're fully fenestrated, and I give up. He fertilizes with Marfil and has it in like the tiniest little no drainage vessel that's like this big. Nick is, I'm just convinced he's like an actual wizard. But anywho, it was nice to be able to see something, like something happening. Something's happening. But I have to figure this out because it's outgrowing this pole and I really don't want to extend this because it already looks ridiculous. Nor do I really want to chop it because I don't want to like stunt the growth more. Oh look, even this leaf has those little tiny fenestrations. Do you guys see it along the midrib right there? It's like you just took a little needle and just started like jabbing it. I don't know. I guess the leaves are starting to get somewhat larger. This one is still really brand new, but I don't know. This plant is just something else. I feel like people either have like a really easy time sizing this plant up or they just don't get any size up at all. And I feel like I'm definitely on that end of the spectrum of people who just can't. It just remains like this forever. I guess now that I'm seeing like some fenestrations or whatever, like maybe I'll give it a little bit more love, but honestly we're still sort of like fighting right now. We're not on the best terms, but we'll see how I feel over the winter. Next one on the list is something that I have not really shown that recently on this channel, but also not a stranger. This is what is left of my variegated burle MARX, and the reason that it looks so sparse is because I chopped the crap out of it. It was growing everywhere, and I just started chopping, gave away a lot to my mom, gave some to Jing, and I think I sold one. I just really wanted to kind of start over because this stem right here was getting so long and it was like all the way up to here, and it just had this really long stem with sort of leaves just kind of sparsely scattered this way and over there and over here, and it just looked a little bit funny. So I was hoping that by chopping it down I could activate some of these growth points along this stem just to kind of make it look a little bit fuller. And it's taken a while, but this one has woken up. This one has woken up, and now I feel like it's gonna be hopefully a little bit fuller here. It just looks a little bit cray-cray right now, but this one did get attacked by spider mites during my infestation, and I did just end up chopping off a lot of those leaves to help contain it a little bit more. But I did keep some of them on here because I also didn't want to end up with a little stump. But if this new growth ends up coming out really leggy again, I honestly think I'm gonna chop it down to like right here, because at the peak of this plant, it was this nice big lush bush, and I think I featured it in maybe one of my favorites videos. I can't remember, but I do know that I got it on camera when it was sort of like looking its best. But things sort of took a turn when I filmed that video with my mom where she took any plant from my collection, and instead of just giving her a cutting off the plant, I ended up doing like a whole repot. I took out one entire stem from it and I gave her cuttings, just because that other stem wasn't super variegated. So I gave her a cutting off one of the more highly variegated parts of the plant. So she's honestly just been sort of in recovery mode since then, and she's just living out on the shelf. I'm not really doing much to her, but she is crazy root bound now. Like, I think this is probably one of my more root bound plants, and I did inoculate this one with great white. I can't really say I am seeing any like results that are any different than what I've noticed before, because this has always been a very rooty plant, and it's a very aerial root heavy plant. So you'll get these long little snakies like this, and what I do is I just redirect it into here, and I'll create like a little place that it can burrow, and then just let it grow like that. So one of the ones that I did recently was this one right here, and there are like multiple roots now growing out of that one. So it's a fun plant. It's just not really at its peak right now, and I'm hoping maybe by next spring or next summer she'll look a little different than this, because she's looking very sparse. I had really contemplated just doing it anyway and chopping this off and just starting a whole new plant, and then maybe like just repotting it into here, but I think that I've missed my window again. Yeah, it's a nice sunny day, but the colder weather is coming and I'm just not feeling very good about doing that kind of project right now. I think I'd rather wait until the spring. But fingers crossed that this can stay in this vessel until then, because yeah, she is super duper duper rooty, and I probably should have repotted this sometime this year. But here we are. Love this one. So easy, so low maintenance. You don't really have to think about it, but she's been through a little bit over the last year. The next one is this pink princess that I got from Plantsome CA. I think I did an unboxing of this maybe in a week of plant to-dos. Can't remember. There are several plants in this little pot, but I've just kind of kept it together. I just haven't really been wanting to take on a project like that, and I already have so many props from my mother plant going that I just don't really think I need anymore. But it's growing so beautifully, and I cannot get over like how pretty these new leaves are. Like it's so dark, and it's like a cherry color, like a cherry, what am I saying? Black cherry color. And the pink is just so vibrant, and I just truly can't. But yeah, they just gave me a really, really nice specimen. Like, I already had like good bones to work with. I do think that this has like good DNA in it. Lots of pink in this stem specifically. So yeah, I do plan on getting this one on a pole somewhat soon, because it is getting pretty large, and I think it's gonna need to be repotted out of here. It's still in the original pot that I got it from them. I highly doubt it's root bound in there, but I kind of do want to get it into my own mix and inoculate it, because I don't think I have inoculated this thing yet. I wanted to wait until I repotted it, but I think this new leaf is going to be really pretty. I'm like really anxious. I wish that this new leaf had come out by the time I filmed this video, but guys, like even leaves like this, it's so beautiful. I would buy a plant if there was like a pink princess that was truly just like this with no sort of sectoral variegation like this. I would totally buy it. I think it is freaking stunning. Like, I think it's the color of the leaves. That's what does it for me. It's just such a beautiful color. But yeah, it's getting kind of tall. I just have this one. I'm not telling you guys where I have it, because you're gonna have to watch my week of plant to-dos to find out. So anyway, yeah, quick feature on the pink princess. I really wasn't planning to show this on my channel for a while, because I can't really take credit for the growth so far. It is like somewhat of a new acquisition, and I haven't repotted. I really haven't done anything to it. I just received it, and then I stuck it where it's living now, and it's been, yeah, growing like a dream. But anywho, that is that. I think I am an official pink princess stan. I've been converted. Next one up is my variegated Vitarifolium, which has seen better days. I talked about it a little bit more in depth on my 6-month update of my Anthurium shelf. I was and am sort of having a little bit of trouble with keeping the variegated parts this color. They just all sort of keep melting off, sort of similar to my white princess. I also think that it's time for it to come out of this vessel, because I don't know what, like, I have been fertilizing this thing with a lot of CalMag, but the new leaves are coming in really wonky and warped like this. I don't know if it's a humidity thing, like if there's not enough humidity when it first emerges, but yeah, like it should not look curled in like this. Like that is not normal for a Vitarifolium. They usually come in very straight and then they harden off straight. So once this one is fully hardened off, it's going to be completely like mangled. But I'm just not really liking this vessel for it. I think it looks really dumb. I think if it was longer, it would be fine, but look at it. She's not looking her best right now, but this one is fun. I also got this one from Carmen. She's the one that gave me my pink princess. She's the one that gave me my white princess. I'm telling you, she's like my variegated plant fairy. So yeah, I was grateful when she dropped this one off at my house. I never really had this one on my radar as one that I was gonna buy, but I do love the Vitarifolium. I think I still prefer the green Vitarifolium over this one, but it is a fun one to have. It's like, you know, it's kept really stable variegation throughout. I've actually never had like a leaf that did not have any variegation on it at all. But I think, yeah, this will be one of those come spring next year where I'll give it a little bit more love and see if we can get some size growth on this thing and some leaves that don't look warped like this. I don't know what that's all about because all of these leaves here were grown in my care. They're all totally fine. But keep in mind, like the oldest leaves on this one, like this one right here, was grown in a greenhouse. The leaf that came before this was also grown on my shelf and it was completely fine. I don't know, it's probably something I did, but I don't have the capacity to like care that much right now. I'm just happy I see a new leaf, new growth, no root rot, no pests on this thing from what I can see. But it did have thrips at one point, head thrips and spider mites, so that was a fun time. Here we have my variegated HEDERACEUM var OXYCARDIUM. This one is one that I acquired from Jing as a, I think it was a one leaf cutting. I did chop the top recently for my mom. I think I gave her like 4 or maybe 5 leaves. This one did get hit with a little bit of thrips in the beginning of my infestation. I'm not seeing any right now. I've had this one sort of in isolation too, but a lot of these older leaves do have the thrips damage on it still. I don't know what I'm doing with this thing. I really don't. Part of me was like, oh, it would be so cool to get this climbing, to have the leaves get bigger, but recently I have just been wanting to cut them up into single nodes and have them just growing as a trailing plant and putting it on my shelf. I think that I'm not able to keep up with how fast this grows because it's like a new leaf every, I don't know, every 3 days. I feel like a new leaf is coming and I have to be realistic. I can't keep up with it. So I think maybe in another repot and chat, I will get this one cut up and we'll just make a little trailing plant because Jing has hers as a trailing plant and it's actually so cute. And I do want to keep my exo now for some of my other plants, and this one is sort of just like growing all over the place. And this one was actually starting to climb the wall of my exo, which is the part that I cut for my mom, and I'm just kind of ready to see this thing not look like this anymore. But I do love the variegation. I think it's so beautiful. I like that it's not so like in your face. It's like a muted sort of green on green. I do see a thripe. I see a thripes. Okay, so yeah, this one's going in my shower. I'm filming a week of plant to-dos today, so I'm gonna be doing some pest treatments, but I don't wanna hold it for too long because if it has thrips, I don't want it to like get on me, you know? I'm very well seasoned in thrips, but I'm still kind of grossed out by them because they have like very worm-like tendencies. I just got an idea. What if I did an Arka trellis with it and like kind of made it go like that instead of a trailing? Or maybe I'll do both. Maybe I'll get a little part of it started on an Arka trellis and then I'll cut up the rest and do like a trailing basket. I don't know, we'll see. But anywho, I know I wasn't giving you guys sort of the best look at it, but I kind of just want to get this into the shower already. I'm itching to do it. So that is a variegated HEDERACEUM. I will make sure once I do anything to this plant, I'll do it on camera so that you guys can tag along for the ride. If there is any thrips on me, I'm gonna freaking scream. The next one is my FRYDEK. So if you guys are wondering what in the hey is happening with it, It was growing out of control. There were so many leaves on it, and so I moved it. I moved my entire tent around, and I got it sort of higher into the tent so that like it wasn't blocking any of the other leaves. And because most of the lights are like on the sides of the tent, it just like started like searching for that light. I only have one bar up at the top, but for some reason it like wasn't enough for these leaves, and they wanted to like sort of go to those side bars. So now all the leaves are like facing down, and I don't know. I do plan on sort of rejigging it again and trying to get it back to where it was before, because it was just growing so nicely in that spot. And you can see what it looked like in the Who Grows It Better collab video with Alice on my channel. Yeah, she actually mentioned in that video how it was like all facing forward and they weren't drooping, and now here we are. I honestly shouldn't have moved it. I should have just moved something out of the tent, but you know, sometimes I like to learn the hard way, or most of the time I like to learn the hard way. But I think I've had 2 new leaves since that video went up. I think this one is a new one that you guys have not seen yet, and then this one just fully emerged, I want to say yesterday, like fully unfurled, and it's actually really beautiful. It's like this sort of mottled greenish limeish color. It kind of reminds me of like a Pryso Verde leaf, like in terms of the color. But I did mention how this specimen just puts out these like really mostly green leaves, and then it'll throw out something really highly variegated like that. And it's just such a great plant. Jing's mother plant that I got this from fully reverted, and now she just has a huge Alocasia Mycorrhizal Maxkowskii, and I am just hoping that mine doesn't do that someday. But so far so good, fingers crossed. The variegation gods are still with us, because I would be pretty sad if this one ever reverted, just because there's like sentimental value. I got this one from Jing for my birthday, grew it from a corm, and now this like rhizome is so big and thick, like it's kind of hard to believe that this grew from a little tiny corm. I do think I'm gonna have to repot this one soon. I'm kind of hoping that there maybe is a corm in here. Last time I only had 1 corm, and I gave it to my mom. I think she said it was sprouting, but haven't really gotten any updates lately. I did inoculate this one with TPS billions, and I am seeing some new root growth. I feel like the root growth was kind of stagnant on this thing for a while, but I also think it's time for a repot because it is very root bound. She's just, yeah, she's been really good to me. I've been pleasantly surprised at how easy it's been to grow. I just know now that she does, I mean, I already knew this, but I thought it would be fine. But yeah, she definitely requires like very specific lighting conditions to have the leaves growing like nice and sort of perky and, you know, kind of facing all one way. So I'm gonna have to figure out what to do in terms of the grow tent, because she's not looking her best right now. She's very happy, she's very healthy. I do think that, you know, it's gonna keep growing over the winter in my tent, and I'm excited to show you guys what she looks like in a few months. It is so hot in here. My makeup is melting off. I literally feel my face melting, and my AC is on full blast. I don't know why it's so hot today, so I'm ready to wrap this up. The last 2 plants are the same plants, different specimen, but I'm gonna show you the smaller one first, even though she looks really sad. So this is my Philodendron Jose Buono propagation that I have shown on this channel a few times. So this is one of them that really suffered during my trip to California. I think that it wasn't getting enough water because the roots were just crispy. They were dry. The whole plant was like, they looked like little taquitos. They were all curled up and they were so soft. And so it's just been, I don't know, it's just been sort of trying to bounce back since then. It probably doesn't help that it's in pure tree fern fiber, which dries out really fast in a small vessel. So yeah, all the new leaves have yellowed. They're not gonna look any better than what they do now. But the good thing is a new leaf is coming in, and it is probably like the nicest leaf I've ever gotten on this plant, and it's so pretty. This one is high on my to-do list. I do think that I'm gonna actually move this one to soil. My spidey senses aren't saying that pond is the best substrate for this plant specifically. I really do want to see how it does in soil, especially since it has tree fern fiber roots. But I do have a sentimental attachment to this one just because it's from my friend Verlie, from her mother plant. Verlie is my best friend slash sister in California, and yeah, I want this one to like thrive and like get big and strong, but I feel like it's just been like one disaster after another. This one did have root rot at one point, and it was in, I think it was actually in perlite, or it was in something else. I can't remember, but I showed it on camera, I believe. And so then I moved it to tree fern fiber as a rehab substrate. It rehabbed just fine, but some of the roots are not looking good. Like you can see that there's like a bright root right here, and then it like just turns into darkness. So I think this one is rotten. I do feel like I need to do some root pruning and just kind of get things cleaned up and finally get it out of tree fern fiber, because while tree fern fiber is a great rehab substrate, I just find that like long term, once it sort of gets rooted, especially like I said in a small vessel, it is not the greatest substrate to use because of how fast it dries out, especially in my tent where it's very, very warm. So yeah, anyway, I just wanted to quickly show you guys this one. It is still very much alive. It is pushing out a gorgeous leaf, but I do have the larger Jose Buono that I have been growing for my friend Nick, and I really don't think he's gonna want this back anytime soon because his plants are growing out of control. But this is another Jose Buono. All of the leaves were about this large when I took it from him to rehab because it wasn't doing very well. So yeah, they were about all like this big. I did get it onto a pole, on a half moon pole, and you can see a lot of those roots have sort of taken off in there, and all of the new growth has just been wild. Like, look at how big this new leaf is now. Like, she's definitely sizing up from like where we started here with, you know, it's kind of like as big as my hand, and then got this one. I'm very proud at how far this one has come. This new leaf looks so white. I think it's gonna be gorge. I'm just thinking that this is probably gonna be one of the nicest leaves that this specimen has seen. It is slowly outgrowing this pole. I think it'll be okay for the winter and maybe even the spring. I think by next summer, I'll be ready to sort of take this one out of this situation and get it onto a larger pole or do a chop. I'm not really sure what Nick wants to do, but I would say I rehabbed it pretty well. I'm kind of proud of myself. Just because I was a little bit worried because at one point this one did have spider mites and it didn't have spider mites when he gave it to me. So I was like, oh crap, I am the worst friend ever. I pretty much doused it in every kind of pesticide I have in this house because I was determined to not lose these leaves, because I actually did lose quite a few leaves down below, and you can actually see some of like the newer leaves that got attacked really badly. Like, I lost 2 leaves on this side, I lost 1 leaf on this side, and it's just been sort of a wild ride. But I'm just really happy at the sort of progression of leaf size growth on this, and I am super excited to see what this leaf looks like. So if you have been struggling with your Jose Buono, what I can recommend is definitely get it on a pole, because I feel like that changed a lot of things with this plant. I am growing it in a vessel with drainage, but it's in a cover pot, so it's basically in no drainage, in soil. And I have a little snail friend here that helps me keep him watered. What I do is do a full watering, and then I'll fill this with water, stick it in there, and then it slowly releases more water, because this pole takes up so much water. So sometimes I'll even take this snail and just like stick it up here just to keep it nice and hydrated. But anyway, this is the last plant I wanted to feature. I just want to end it with a bang, you know, and I don't think I've really shown this one on my channel recently. So Nick, if you're watching, Jose Buono is doing great. sizing up. This stem is getting humongous. It's getting super thick. So I think maybe like 3 or 4 leaves from now, it's definitely gonna grow too large for my exo, but we will cross that bridge when we get there. All right, so that is it for all of my variegated plants. I don't have much. I definitely had more than I actually even thought. When I was doing like the planning of this video, I was like, oh, it's gonna be so fast. It's gonna be a 20-minute video because I have like 5 variegated plants. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have like 15 of them, 14 or 15. So those are it. In terms of wish list plants that are variegated, I actually don't have many. I think if anything, the only one that I really can think of on the top of my head that I would love to have is a caramel marble. The Isles Manii is really beautiful. That would be amazing to have too, but not within my financial reach. Would never spend not even a fraction of what the retail cost is or what the market price is. I wonder if I have anything else on my Instagram wish list. That's kind of how I keep track of the things that I want to buy. Oh. Yeah. Okay, here's the thing. I would love to have a Homolomina rubescens variegated, but I was so trash at growing. I'm gonna scoot over so I can insert some photos here. I was so trash at growing the Thai Splash. That one just, it was a slow burn death. Slow burn. I have never hated a plant as much as I hate that one. But I will say that the variegated Homolomina rubescens is just stunning. It's incredible. It's beautiful. I love it so much. And I would love to have it, but again, not in my budget. Don't even know where I would get one. It's just one of those things where I'm like, I'll just enjoy the photos of them and just never have one. Oh, another one that I would love to have is a variegated philodendron bilietiae. I think you guys know how much I love my billies. My billy, my tabapoense. I just love all of them so much, and I find the variegated one to just be beautiful, and I'm hoping that prices come down soon because I feel like of all of my variegated wishlist plants that the variegated variegated bilietiae is probably the most attainable, I think, just because a lot of people are propagating theirs. There's being more that are imported, and the prices have gone down quite a bit, but it's still not within my reach. So that is another one. Oh, variegated Mycorrhizals, how could I forget? Would love to have one of those. I would literally trade an organ for one. Mycorrhizal is just one of those plants that like have a little soft spot in my heart, and I just really would love one. Even just a leaf, a node, a leafless node. Someone help a sister out. I think that is it. Yeah, that's about all of the ones remaining on my wish list. So not a bunch, and a lot of them I'm not even really ever expecting to own, which I'm fine with. But yeah, if I could get my hands on a variegated philodendron bilietiae, I'd be very happy. Anywho, that is it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully, maybe in a couple months, a lot of these will glow up. I'm kind of really excited to get my hands on this variegated HEDERACEUM once I treat the situation. And then also, I'm hoping that my variegated BURLE MARX is looking a little cuter the next time I do like a feature like this. But yeah, that is it. I'm gonna go. Thank you guys for watching another video. If you liked it, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up because it helps Pudge and I a lot on YouTube. I appreciate you guys for being here. Thank you for all of the beautiful comments. Thank you for all the love you guys show me on a weekly basis. And I will see you in the next one.